2025 for Taurus rising sign, Taurus sun, or Taurus moon. Feel free to listen to all three signs because some of you might be resonating with other parts of your chart. And therefore, maybe the sun sign represents you a little bit more right now, depending on your age. So we've got a busy year ahead of us. We have got a lot of sign changes. We've got Saturn, Neptune changing sign. Jupiter will be also, Uranus is changing sign, but they are back and forth. So it's going to be triggering two parts of your natal chart, surely. We've got the ongoing Saturn and Jupiter square. We've got Venus going retrograde in the sign of Aries. We've got Mars retrograde in Leo and then in Cancer as well. So you have got a lot of changes. So therefore, I put together a little bit of a video for you. And please show your gratitude. Maybe you want to share the video with others. You might want to comment on it. Also, like the video, subscribe to the channel, all those goodies. It would be much appreciated. And if you would like to get a yearly forecast done by me, then I highly recommend going ahead because I've got a promotion, 50% off because of Christmas, between the 19th of December till 26th of December. So this is your great opportunity to have a reading with me. And on top of that, if you would like to learn with me, study with me, then I've got all my courses and webinars on 50% as well. I've got hundreds of webinars and courses all together. So every single level of students can find something that might be taking you further in your own journey. By the way, my name is AstroViktor. I have been an astrologer for 22 years. I have been teaching 3-4 times a week on different subjects. And on top of that, I have been doing reading 2 a day at least, every single day for the last 7 years, non-stop. So my schedule gets filled up pretty quickly, and I hope to meet you as well. Let's get started with 2025. Well, first of all, one of the big shifts is going to be, of course, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction moving into the sign of Aries. So let's try to break that down for you. Taurus, this is going to be happening in your 12th house. By the way, I made separate videos about each of these general indications of every single movement on the sky in 2025 and 26. So I'm not going to be telling you now that Saturn and Neptune is about the crystallization of your dreams and so forth. I'm just going to lay it out what it might mean for you. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. First of all, Saturn is shifting sign, and this is a big one. Saturn in the sign of Aries is telling you that you need to be taking your initiatives when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to your bad habits, when it comes to certain type of lifestyle choices. Rather than going into kind of like a depression mode, a hermit mode, actually this is telling you to have an urge to take charge and maybe to start a certain type of preparation, a new project or a new venture that you might want to be launching, for example, in a couple of years' time. This is a period of time when maybe you need to be a little bit at the back scene of the stories and so on, and then kind of like putting together, for example, a teaching material if you are a teacher. It highly depends on where Saturn comes from. Maybe Saturn is, for example, in your 9th house, because you are about 37, 38 years old. And then Saturn would like you to become a teacher. And then now we are meant to be putting the knowledge together. We are meant to be putting the material together. Saturn, you know, it has got a really bad reputation, I would say, but it is this combination altogether would really talk to you about crystallizing your own dreams. So what have you been dreaming about? What have you been kind of like trying to accomplish? This is a little bit of a summary point for you. When Saturn is moving through your 12th house, it really feels like, from a negative perspective, that you're going to have to be able to take charge when it comes to your own physical health as well. It would be highly important that maybe you, let's say you give up smoking, you change your lifestyle somehow, and then most importantly, you commit to it. So important. Commitment, dedication. We need to be disciplined with this aspect. And remembering that Saturn is a little bit weak here in the sign of Aries, but it has got planetary joy. A joy means that it would be all about making yourself happy somehow. So what makes you happy? But at the beginning of the transit, you might need to be contemplating a little bit on the meaning of your existence, what I have achieved so far, what type of mistakes I have made, and rather than being depressed about the mistakes that I've made, maybe I have to be owning them and then thinking about how we can be shifting this around. The 12th house is a representation of endings. So it looks like that you are preparing for a big change. And maybe the big change is going to be coming when Saturn is moving into your first house. And that's only going to be happening in approximately about 2.5 years' time. This is telling you that we need to be cutting out any type of confusion, for example. Yes, sometimes it's about analyzing, having kind of like critical mindset or eye to examine what is going on beyond or beneath the surface. Um, like looking at your subconscious, that there are certain type of things there that needs to be dissolved. It really feels like that the next couple of years is a spring clean, getting rid of any type of situations in your life that are confusing or misleading or disappointing or something which is kind of like a negative talk. We all have got secrets, right? We all have got skeletons in our closets. They need to be coming forefront, analyzing them, acknowledging them, and then finally putting them in bed and walking away from that. So when Saturn is in the 12th house alongside with Neptune, this is a very much of an introspective period for you. And sometimes it comes with isolation. So you might be kind of like ending, for example, if Saturn is coming from your 7th house, you are preparing yourself to end, for example, a relationship because you don't want to be a third party anymore. You don't want to get disappointed anymore. But also, this is highly a spiritual um, house as well. So maybe you have got spiritual inclinations, for example, and you would like to become, for example, a therapist. You would like to become a life coach. You would like to become a personal trainer, Aries. Then this could be a period of time when maybe we need to be gaining a little bit more knowledge. And then after, we can actually kind of go for it. Now, Neptune is part of this picture as well. And I've tried already to kind of like giving you hints and tips about the mixture of Saturn and Neptune together. But let me just break that down Neptune for you as well. Because often Neptune is, I call it as the rotten apple syndrome. It lays you down a lot of kind of nice looking opportunities. But unfortunately, when we wake up from our dreams, we might get disappointed. Now, the 12th house is in modern astrology is kind of like the ruled by Neptune. So some would say that this is not necessarily a big issue because, Neptune likes being in the 12th house. It kind of feels like at home. But I would say that it highly depends on how aligned you are with your spiritual self, how much you rely on your intuition, how compassionate you are, how much you understanding your own life purpose, and how you are able to deal with the past, because the past is always going to be biting us in the butts. And then when we are able to let go of the past, when we find creative kind of like solutions to past problems and so forth, or when we give shape and forms to our dreams actively, Aries, then yes, this could be a brilliant time for you. But you might be overstretching yourself. You might get lost. You don't know which dream to go with. This is where Saturn is coming to tell you to step back, to analyze. And then after, once we are certain, we have got crystal clarity over what we want to do, then we can go ahead with full flame. It really kind of feels to me. I mean, if you have got especially any planets here, that could be also very important to you, of course, because then you would need to be doing a little bit of a work around that planet as well. And it doesn't matter where the planet is in the 12th house. As soon as the planets are meeting on 0 degree, then they start communicating to that planet in a subtle way. It's kind of like giving out directions. For example, if you have got moon in there, then you're going to have to be dealing with body matters, for example, so the habits and so forth, what I mentioned before. And then we're going to start seeing certain type of signs, what Saturn and Neptune want. But if we ignore those, we kind of feel like that, oh, you know what, let's just forget about it. It's not important and so forth. Then later on, when the aspect becomes exact, that would be the time potentially when maybe health issues are going to be coming into your life. So therefore, it's highly important not to ignore the signs as soon as they come around. Now, Neptune, for Taurus rising sign, this is also a spiritual journey. This is also kind of like your inner world that needs to be nurtured. This could be talking to you about exploring your subconscious a little bit more, maybe writing your dreams down, being a little bit more attuned to your dreams, and exploring unseen realms. This might be a challenge for you, Taurus, because you are a practical person. Oh, spirituality, all these type of topics. That's not necessarily my cup of tea. So, but it's important that somehow you stay real with that spiritual realm, but you start tapping into that. Maybe it's all about letting go of any type of old problems that might have been holding you back. I would like to mention that Uranus has been also transiting your first house. And even though Uranus will be shifting into your second house later on this year, but it will be back and forth. And the final movement of Uranus is going to be happening in 2026 into your second sign. So what it pretty much tells me is that Uranus still wants you to come out of your comfort zone. It wants you to kind of have an awakening. Yes, you have got that impulsive desire to make a change, especially if your rising sign is late degrees. So somewhere around 25-degree Taurus onwards, then Uranus will be impacting you quite significantly in 2025/2026, or your sun or the moon are around those degrees. Uranus wants you to come out of your comfort zone, to leave things behind and start fresh. And yes, it can come with a bit of a rebellious energy. It can be also that people are going to think that you are obnoxious, for example, or you have become unpredictable, or your mood is kind of fluctuating if Uranus is triggering your moon, for example. Or with the sun, it could represent that I'm just running away from my career path, for example. And when it's your rising sign, you make major decisions in your life. Uranus is kind of like the protein shaker type of thing. So it shakes your life up. It spices things up. Maybe that Uranus have wanted you to walk away from certain type of relationship, but you didn't have the courage. Maybe due to financial considerations, for example. It could have felt like that your life is somehow stagnant. And I'm anxious. I'm anxious about the future. Now, Saturn Neptune will want you to actually take the initiatives and then start fresh, but also it wants you to kind of realize your own spiritual power as well, that I can manifest my dreams. I just need to have the strength. I need to have the muscles. I need to have courage and inspiration and all those type of things. And maybe these changes with Uranus is going to be coming through making new friendships. Maybe it's going to be coming through a breakup, for example, in a relationship, which can be very upsetting at the beginning, of course. But then later on, what it does is that it frees you up. And then you realize in a couple of years' time that, wow, this was the best thing ever happened to me. So starting fresh, upgrading your life, doing something bigger than you in a way. Maybe you become self-employed, for example. Maybe you want just more variety in your life, such as in relationship, at your work, and all those type of things. Maybe it is all about trying out something new. That's kind of like spicing your life up as well. It again depends on where Uranus comes from. If Uranus comes from, for example, the fifth house, you might get pregnant suddenly, unexpectedly. If you, but also it can indicate that you're going to have a new hobby, for example, that you kind of want to pour energy into, and then later on you want to make money out of it. This is also good, but if Uranus comes from the fourth and the 10th house, maybe this indicates that unfortunately you're going to lose someone dear in your life, especially with Saturn and Neptune in the 12th house as well, where often we have to be dealing with losses, we have to be dealing with grief and sorrow in our life. But also, that house is about understanding the natural process of life as well, that we all go through losses and we all get the chance to start fresh. This could indicate with Uranus still being in your first house that things are a little bit more on the chaotic side. Life is not dull at all when Uranus is there. So I would love to hear your experiences with Uranus in 2024, but surely it hasn't just finished yet. So make sure to check where Uranus is located in your birth chart to get a clearer indicator what areas of life will be involved in the process. While Uranus is, for example, transiting your sun, your moon, or your rising sign, and count how many signs they are away from each other. So I'm going to give you an example here. My Uranus is in the 10th house. Uranus has been going through my third house. Those are six signs away from each other. So it has got a sixth house feeling to it as well. And since 2019, I've been working on my body. I'm working on my strength. I'm trying to make kind of like changes. It's a little bit up and down though, but it has been working pretty well. Okay. When Uranus is on your rising sign, you might need to be making a decision about where Uranus is located in your natal chart. So, for example, I have to be making a decision about my career. That's exactly what I did in 2018, as soon as Uranus moved into my third house, six sign away from the natal position. I decided to leave the corporate world and I have become self-employed. So I hope that makes sense. Now, but let's move on because Uranus is briefly going to be moving into your second sign. So that's exciting, right? Because it's going to be doing for you potentially that if you are clear about what you want to do in chart, for example, you want to become you want to do trade, you want to be making money online and so forth, this Uranus is going to be allowing you, especially because Uranus is connected with a trine, for example, to Pluto, and Pluto and Uranus together really could talk to us about making money through technological advancements. So I love that for you. But also with Uranus in the second house, this can talk to you about shifts in your values, that you realize that, you know what, my self-worth is all over the place. It could indicate that you're going to make money online, but this might be not kind of like continuous. Uranus in the second house is 1 month I make $10,000 and then I don't make any for 3 months. So we still need to be aware, especially in a dual bodied sign, about our expenditure as well, because that could become a little bit erratic, eccentric as well. So also the second house is the area of life where we develop relationship with ourselves, with our attachments, with the material world. So, and you might see that, for example, certain type of relationships in your life is going to be kind of like become chaotic. You might start evaluating your attachments to material walls to relationships and so forth. And in a way, you shut the door on those. You know, but I'm not interested anymore in money, for example. I'm going to be working on something else. But the second house represents pleasure and satisfaction and food as well, things that we put into our mouth. So even Uranus might want you to kind of lose weight. Interesting second house and 12th house activations for you so far, which of course could be an indication that you decide to lose weight, for example, or you decide that you're going to be generating wealth through spiritual objects, or you decide that, you know what, I've got a house, I've got a car, I've got, I don't know, a suitcase, for example, and I don't need them anymore. So I'm just going to be giving them away. The 12th house is very charitable. But also, the 12th house represents bigger expenditures, while the second house is money that is all over the place. So this is the reason why we need to be a little bit more cautious about what we spend money on, because that might be an indication that your expenditure is going to be growing quite significantly. Every single house has got a spiritual, physical, or an emotional meaning as well. So I would say that from an emotional point of view, maybe the fact that you don't trust your talent anymore, you don't know where you belong, and then it feels like that I don't have the friends, I'm alone, I'm lonely. And that's a possibility also with Saturn being in the 12th house alongside with Neptune as well. So how I can make connections. Sorry, my doggy is just bugging me, so I had to pick her up because she just needy in the last couple of days. So that could be also a major topic for you. Now, the other big topic that we've got for you in 2025 is, of course, Jupiter, who is moving into the sign of Cancer, and that is your third house. It looks like you're gonna make money, but in order for you to make money, you're gonna have to improve your knowledge. You're gonna have to improve your communication style. You're going to have to be able to figure out how to sell yourself. It's kind of like writing up your CV, and then what to put down in the CV, what sounds good, and so forth. And maybe you're going to take your time a little bit to kind of, evaluate how a good CV should look like and so on. So you might start studying. You might decide that, I need a driving license, for example, or I need, a course with Victor. This could be a great time for you to kind of do that. And one interesting thing, by the way, is that I'm doing a foundational course. And it's going to be a 9-month long foundational course. So if you are a beginner, you might want to consider it. That's also on a discounted price right now. But also, you can have a lot of ideas. You can become a very enthusiastic about, like about a certain type of ideas. The danger there is that you're going to have to slow down. Remember, Jupiter moves into the sign of Cancer. It's being squared by Saturn straight away on 0 degree. So it's going to be highly important that you don't get scattered with all the ideas that you have. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do social media. I'm going to be a bartender. I'm going to be this and that. And then your energy is going to kind of dissolve, right? It's going to run away from you. And that's where the 12th house and Neptune could be coming into the picture, that you take too much on and then maybe you can get sick. So just be very mindful about it. Maybe that with the Jupiter, you decide that I want to be writing a book, I want to be teaching something, or as I said, I'm taking a course, or I'm launching a YouTube channel. Jupiter is the planet of opportunities. So even it would be giving you the opportunity to travel or to take your studies to the next level. For example, you decide that, okay, I've got a PhD, so I'm going to do the master or all this type of stuff. Maybe this could also indicate that you're going to buy a new car and it's going to be kind of like a family car. Or maybe it even could indicate that you're going to get kind of like good news about travel opportunities, or you're going to get nice emails somehow, or you're going to be getting nice feedback about your work, and so on. Obviously, that's kind of exciting for everyone, right? But the third house is about sales as well. It's the house of business and trading. So maybe you are going to be selling a house. Maybe you are going to be doing some great purchases, which is going to be able to increase your financial situation as well at one point. Jupiter is the ruler of your eighth house, which is other people's money, clients' money. So you are thinking potentially about, yeah, how I can get those clients to kind of pay for my services, right? So I love that Jupiter for you, and it's going to be doing pretty well as well. However, we've got other stuff going on for you. Mars is retrograde. Yes, it started already, but you know what? Mars retrograde is going to be around until May. And then we've got this challenging Mars and Pluto opposition happening in the sign of Leo to Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. So actually, let's talk about Pluto a little bit before we run into um, Mars, right? So Pluto is sitting currently in your 10th house. So Pluto is the planet of change. What Pluto wants to change is something to do with your career department. 10th house is vocation, public life. So Pluto might want you to become a public figure, for example. It wants you to kind of like build a professional reputation, but often it kind of destroys your previous career. And because you are not willing to start fresh, so there is no other choice but to kind of like destroy your reputation, destroy your workplace. It could bring some chaotic moments at your workplace. And then finally, it's kind of like you're forced out. Pluto is signaling since 2023 March that changes must happen in your career department. Yes, Pluto is going to be here for 20 years, but remember Pluto, Uranus trine, we've got the Pluto, Neptune, sextile. So it really feels like that you have got a couple of years to kind of make this happen. But also, how am I dealing with powers? Do I come across powerful to others, or is my boss trying to overpower me, overshadow me? Are you afraid to make certain type of changes in your life? You know, RuPaul usually says that, what does he say? Great power comes with great responsibility. That's such a Pluto in the 10th house type of saying, because the 10th house is about responsibility, while Pluto is about power. So if you want to gain power, you're going to have to be responsible in front of the public. 11th house is pretty much of building up a community. So again, it feels like that some of you Taurus rising sign is going to be out there in the public. But Mars is retrograde in your 4th house. So maybe what could be happening here that you don't have the inner strength to kind of do this. Maybe you have to be working through your confidence because Mars is in the sign of Leo. Maybe this is also telling you that, yes, you have got some family challenges going on, some family feuds. There's a bit of a chaos going on in your home environment around the properties that you live in or you bought. And then it's kind of like distracting you. Maybe it also can be because Mars is the ruler of your 7th house, that, for example, you're going to have a legal matter about the home, about inheritance, about the death of a parent, for example, and it's not necessarily straightforward. Or maybe a past lover is kind of like knocking on your door. What am I going to do now? Right? So Mars might want you to kind of look after certain type of domestic matters, for example, making change in your home situations. Therefore, it could represent a move. It could represent relocation for you as well. Relocation, for example, because of work with Pluto in the 10th house. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? But also, the 4th house is emotional foundation as well. And it really feels like that you're going to have to be somehow reevaluating whether I feel like I can express myself the way I want to in front of my family. And maybe that's why we need the strength to kind of put them in place, for example. Balancing work and life most likely is going to be very critical for you, especially in the first 6 months of the year. I think you're going to have to find your voice. Why is that? Because Mars is going to go back into your 3rd house. So you need to be able to speak your truth. You need to be able to feel motivated to speak up, yes, to study and to communicate and all those type of things. And Mars in Cancer is a debilitated position. A retrograde often represents introspection. So we need to be able to formulate our words, how I'm going to be communicating with others, how I am making the connections, for example. But it all starts with starting to build your own confidence level up. So Mars is pretty kind of like important for you, I would say, this time around. Um, it's kind of like how with Mars being in your fourth and then it's going back into your third house. Yes, Mars is a fiery planet, so maybe you have to be replacing, for example, kitchen utensils. So being mindful about that, they could be breaking down, for example. The worst case scenario, there could be a fire going on, for example, in your house. So just be very mindful about that as well. Also, this could be talking to you about having that desire to kind of, in a way, upgrade your home. So you might decide, oh yeah, I do a bit of a feng shui. I'm going to be painting the wall, or I'm going to have a new oven, a fireplace, and all those type of things. That's also actually possible with this Mars retrograde. We also have got Venus going retrograde this year. And Venus is going to be happening also in the sign of Aries. So that is your 12th house. So it's joining that Neptune and Saturn conjunction. So what can I say about that? Definitely, this is going to be something I'm going to be making a video about in more length. But let me summarize this one for you. Um, Venus represents money, love, beauty. These are probably the three most important meaning of it. Every 18 months, Venus goes retrograde. Every 8 years, it goes retrograde in the very same sign. So you might want to go back to about 2017 because the Venus went retrograde in the sign of Aries around that as well. So you should be, or you must be seeing um, certain type of repetitions. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So, of course, when Venus goes retrograde in your 12th house, this is also a reevaluation of your relationship, reevaluation of your money matters, reevaluation about whether you find yourself beautiful or not, and how I might be able to make myself more beautiful. It really looks like that because Venus is the ruler of your rising sign or the dispositor of your sun and the moon, depending on which one you listen to. What you need to be re-examining is your subconscious mind. Maybe you decide that I am into psychotherapy, meditation, or or maybe you're going to have to work through some of your mental addictions or dealing with mental afflictions as well. And in the sign of Aries, we're going to have to make our mental power somehow stronger. Maybe you figure out certain type of secrets about your love life. Maybe you figure out that somehow money has been taken from you. Someone has stolen money from you. Maybe actually it could feel like, again, it's kind of a little bit of a depressive type of stuff, to be frank, because the ruler of the first house is in the 12th. And it could indicate that you don't find yourself beautiful, you feel lonely, I don't have a relationship, and all those type of topics. And you might start digging yourself down. So find ways of putting yourself out there, maybe learn a little bit more about your own limitations and afflictions from a spiritual perspective so that you can actually work them through. This could also indicate that a ex-lover is causing you issues or an ex-lover is coming back from the past. And maybe this is the year when you're going to have to maybe let them go, kind of like having that final closure somehow. But you can fantasize quite a lot as well about, what, that's how a perfect guy or a girl looks like, for example. And then we take action about it so that we can kind of get that. This might be something to do with your financial situation as well. So watch out because we could be overspending. Maybe this is the way how you want to be, kind of like overcompensating your loneliness and so forth. You could be doing past life regressions with this, for example, any type of hypnotherapy. Also, this could indicate that you need to be trusting your intuition when it comes to who I get together with, what my partner does, or you are a little bit skeptical. You are kind of like suspicious in a way. So the question could be, shall I trust my hunches, or actually shall I kind of run away from that? It can be talking to you about praying, as well. So Venus is also definitely an invitation for you to be a little bit more introspective. Also, remember that Venus rules your sixth house as well. So medical questions of vitality could be actually dropping. I would like to mention that to you as well. Did I mention everything? No, one more thing that I forgot to mention for you is actually the nodes, because you're going to have nodal shifts also, and they are going to be happening in your 11th and in your 5th house. So overall, it really looks like that your love life is going to be having a change. So some of your eclipses come in pairs. So therefore, you're going to have a couple happening in your 11th house, and you're going to have a couple happening in your 5th house, but they are interconnectedness. So while you have got the Saturn, Neptune, and Venus triggering your 12th house, which is the house of grief and loneliness, actually the nodes want you to be more social. It wants you to be investing time and effort into hobbies, meeting new people, for example, or being a part of a group. Or it might want you to be a little bit more charitable. 11th and 12th house are very charitable. The 11th house deals with social justice, and the 12th house is kind of like the non-profit organizations. And by being part of something that is bigger than you, is going to be helping you to interact with the right people, right friends, right associates, or people you might meet who have got the same kind of like professional goals and ideas, because the 11th house is the sisterhood and the brotherhood as well. So this is inviting you to participating in groups. 11th and the 5th house, unfortunately, also talks to us about the loss of parents. So some of you Taurus might experience that as well. But also this is about realigning with your goals. So these houses are connected to future. So it really feels to me that you're going to have a big shift potentially in your love life. Now, the other end of the scale is the 5th house, of course, where maybe it's not just about connecting with others, but in order for you to connect with others, you're going to have to be a little bit more on the confidence side. You're going to have to be able to express yourself. You're going to have to kind of have a lot of energy, creative energy. You're going to have to be passionate about something. You're going to have to show affection towards others. Maybe it's about embracing your inner child. Yeah, this could even indicate that you're gonna go on dates, or you're gonna have to be working on the intimacy department, for example, in your existing relationship. And yes, some of you might be even figuring out that unfortunately the partner is cheating on, or you are cheating on others. And that would be the reason why it would probably happen, is because there is lack of entertainment, there is lack of fun in our lives. So it looks like we're going to have to start working on that as well a little bit. So guys, I think I mentioned all the bigger topics for you in 2025, as well as in 2026. So I would appreciate if you like the video, you share it with others, as well as you made a comment on it, what your experiences are. This is going to be available for you anytime, so you can revisit the video and then even comment that, yeah, Victor, this is kind of going on in my life right now. So have a lovely one, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.